now it's pretty clear, if anyone had any doubts, that no religion is safe from ISIS. They're attacking Jews, they're attacking Muslims, they're attacking Christians, and I'm sure there are several other religions they'll get to at some point. So this is a threat that goes well beyond Syria and Iraq.
Senator Bob Casey, Democrat of Pennsylvania, saying no religion, no people really safe from the barbaric hands of ISIS. Alongside Miranda Khan, J.D. Hayworth welcoming you into Hour 2 of America's Forum. And joining us now, the former mayor of Shiloh, Israel, David Rubin, who is also the author of the new book, Sparks from Zion. David, as always, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us. Senator Casey says nobody is safe, really, from the hands of ISIS. But in your mind, are Jews particularly vulnerable?
Well, there's no question about that. Islam has always had a particular venom for Jews. If you read in the Quran, you're going to read about how Jews and Christians are the ones that they got to get, and the Jews and the infidels. And it says in the Quran, there's a Jew behind a tree, come, let's go kill him. This is at the core of Islam. And yes, it's Jews that they're out to get, but it's also Christians. The Quran speaks extensively about Jews and Christians. Do not take the Jews and the Christians for your friends, for they are friends of each other. And so that's the basic ideology that ISIS believes in, but it's also the basic ideology that all the others believe in, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the other Islamic terrorist organizations.
But do you think there's a difference between these terrorist organizations and Muslims around the world?
Well, obviously not every Muslim believes in cutting off people's heads, but the basic ideology of all of these terrorist organizations makes it very clear that they do believe in beheadings. Hamas believes in beheadings no less than ISIS, and Al-Qaeda believes in beheadings no less than ISIS. And in fact, Saudi Arabia and Iran believe in beheadings no less than ISIS. And these are two of the countries that the Obama administration has been particularly fond of partnering with in fighting against ISIS.
David, we'd like to play for you part of a disturbing video of a Jewish man walking the streets of Paris. We'll watch and listen, then we'll get your reaction to it. And in the video, we see images of people spitting on the Jew, engaged in catcalls. David, Prime Minister Netanyahu is inviting European Jews to move to Israel. Has it come to that point now where Jews are no longer safe in Europe?
Well, it's getting to that point, and it's very sad. Look, Jews have a right to live anywhere they want to live, and they should have a right to live peacefully and safely anywhere that they want to live. But what Prime Minister Netanyahu is saying is that the Zionist dream is that all Jews will come to Israel, and that Israel will be strengthened as a sovereign nation, which we are. Yes, Jews are welcome around the world. It was important for him to say that. But at the same time, every single European country or any other country in the world that is threatened by this Islamic extremism has an obligation to protect the Jews who live there.
David, only 30 seconds remain, but according to the Jerusalem Post, Palestinians say Israel is lying about ISIS cells being located in the West Bank. In your opinion, do you believe those cells do in fact exist?
Oh, it's not a question of believing, it's a question of knowing. It is a fact that ISIS cells are active in Judea and Samaria, which the world tends to call the West Bank. And they're also active in Gaza, and several of them have been caught. So it's clear, it's a fact. ISIS is on the ground in the land of Israel and around the world in almost every country. That is their goal. and they're going to continue to try to spread themselves everywhere.
David Rubin, the former mayor of Shiloh, Israel, from Newsmax New York this morning. And David will return when we come back. We will talk about politics in Israel, Bibi Netanyahu with a commercial with ISIS asking directions to Jerusalem, the impact of that ad, and also the impact here in the United States and in Israel of the Prime Minister's upcoming address to a joint session of Congress. All that and more when Miranda and I return with our good friend David right after this break.
Could you imagine Nancy Pelosi doing something like this to George W. Bush? And the thing that makes it so crazy, Reb, you've now got 5 former Israeli ambassadors to the United States saying this is a big mistake.
Correct.
Telling
5.
5, not just 1 or 2 outliers, but 5, including the most immediate predecessor.
Alongside Miranda Khan, J.D. Hayworth, Salone's Joan Walsh, and Al Sharpton on MSNBC, taking issue with the invitation issued by Speaker John Boehner to Prime Minister Netanyahu to come address a joint session of Congress. Let's continue our conversation with the former mayor of Shiloh, Israel, David Rubin, joining us from Newsmax, New York. Now, David, Joan Walsh was saying all the Israeli ambassadors, or the 5 previous ambassadors, don't want Netanyahu speaking here. Is that accurate?
I don't know. I haven't heard from all of them. All I could say is that if Al Sharpton is saying that he shouldn't speak, then there must be something right about speaking. Look, the fact is that that on March 24th there is going to be a deadline. There is a deadline for the Iranian negotiations, the negotiations between primarily the United States and Iran over their nuclear bomb program. Netanyahu was invited to speak on March 3rd, and if he doesn't speak before that deadline, then there's a good chance that the members of Congress and the American people aren't going to have the real information about what is really going on, which is that these negotiations will enable Iran to get the nuclear bomb. It's not going to cut down on their enrichment of uranium substantially. They are going to be able to get the nuclear bomb. It's essential that Prime Minister Netanyahu lay out the facts before everyone's eyes.
David, the White House has received quite a bit of criticism, especially recently, that it's not showing enough support towards Israel and kind of being soft when it comes to Islam. Do you agree with that?
Recently? I don't think we're talking about recently. We're talking about since 2008.
But especially recently.
Well, recently it's out in the open. There are no secrets anymore. It's like House Speaker Boehner said, it's no secret that President Obama and his administration have been hostile towards the Prime Minister, but it's more than that. It's not a personality issue. It's not that Obama and Netanyahu just don't get along. It's a question of content. Obama has opposed every single Israeli policy except for the Iron Dome self-defense system during the Gaza war. He has opposed Israel's right to build in its ancient capital, Jerusalem, and its modern capital, Jerusalem. He's opposed the right of Israel to build in its biblical heartland of Judea and Samaria. Obama has opposed Netanyahu on the Iran issue, has been sort of whitewashing this whole issue, just whitewashing it away as if it's not a major existential issue for Israel. And in addition to that, he opposed Israel during the Gaza war when Hamas were hiding missiles in playgrounds in UN schools. Obama has opposed Israel on almost every major issue in the past 2 years.
David, 2 minutes remain, and we really want to take these 2 minutes to talk about your new book, Sparks from Zion, that focuses on the unique challenges Israel faces. How does the war on terror and Iran and ISIS figure into all of those challenges?
Well, they're all central in the challenges that Israel faces in these times. Obviously, in Sparks from Zion, I speak about all of those issues. The challenge from ISIS is not just a challenge, and I should say the challenge from Islamic terrorism and the Islamic tsunami is not just a challenge that's facing Israel alone. It's not an accident that Iran is working feverishly to produce long-range missiles that can reach the United States of America. We're in a time that is very similar to the 1930s in Nazi Germany, when there was the rise of the Nazis and people were kind of putting their head in the sand and not looking at what is really going on before their eyes. ISIS, the Iranian nuclear bomb, all of these threats are very, very serious, and they're not just a threat to Israel, they are a direct and imminent threat to Western civilization as a whole, including the United States of America.
Again, the name of the book, Sparks from Zion. You get a good look at the cover, and you don't have to judge it by its cover because you just heard from David Rubin, the former mayor of Shiloh, Israel, who joins us from Newsmax, New York. Now, when we come back, Congress is in recess, but that doesn't mean like a play period. You go out and see your constituents. You do town halls.
Coming
French
from a
Hill.
former politician.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. That's the way it really works. French Hill from Arkansas is a member of Congress. He will join us next from his district when we come back.